understand wireless communication, at least the terminology itself is clear. It says that it's a method to communicate between human beings or between devices in a wireless way. That means there are no wires. So can you name any wireless product that you use every day?
Wi-Fi.
Okay, Wi-Fi.
Television.
Television, very good. Many people forget television, very good. We remember everything else and then we forget that we are using TV, which is a wireless.
Radio.
Radio, yes. Yes.
FM and AM both.
Yes, FM and AM, okay. Then what else?
Mobile communication, radio access network like 2G, 3G, 4G.
Correct. Cellular communication or mobile communication, yes. What else?
Satellite launching.
Satellite, yes, very good. Interesting answers, right? So we don't even think of defense being a very big user of wireless technologies. They have so many things that they can't control by going to the field. They have to do it remotely.
Electronic warfare.
Yes, electronic warfare. Yes. Similarly in aeroplanes. So you want to do remote communication, right? All the controlling that happens with the ATC, the ground-based systems with the planes. So if you look at our everyday life, common man like us, let's say, we use mobile phones, right? We use car remote lock. That's also a wireless system. Remotely, you lock and unlock the car. Remote control in your home for your TV radio, GPS, which you use for location navigation. You use Bluetooth. Bluetooth today is used in a lot of wireless earbuds. Wi-Fi, right? So all these we use on a daily basis. We don't even know. We are surrounded by wireless devices, right? So wireless communication is so important. So imagine that if you had to connect wires for all these things. So just imagine how the world would have been, right? Imagine that you have to connect wires to talk to 1% or 100%. There would have been just wires in this world, right? So that's why wireless communication is really important. And obviously our smartphones have a bigger functionality, and today's smartphones are not only this, it covers a lot of these things also. Okay, now let's look at the basic functionality. First, let us look at how do we make a simple phone call. So when we talk about one phone call, think of you're calling someone by dialing their number. Okay, so what happens is in a mobile communication system, this is your phone, and then there is a tower that you see. And the connection between these two is not a wired connection. It is a wireless connection, like how I told you before. Now, UE here stands for user equipment. So it could be the mobile phone, but if you are talking about 4G and 5G, like how I told you, it could also be a device which is nothing to do with humans. It could be just be a machine which is connecting to a tower. It is talking to the tower on itself because it's a machine-to-machine communication. Okay. So user equipment, UE, is a generic term. And this tower is called as base station. Okay, BASE, base station. So the communication happens between a user equipment and a tower or a base station. And the communication link is a wireless link. So if you are thinking about mobile communication or any wireless communication, always think that there should be two things to communicate, right? It could be devices which humans are having, or it could be devices where humans are not involved. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So now, if we look at a simple voice call process, imagine you want to call your friend. So how does this look? First, let us look at the three parts of this system. First, there is a caller who calls, okay, and there is a receiver. So this could be you are calling, and you are calling your friend, and the friend is your receiver. In between, there is a network. So you can imagine this caller as the user equipment or UE that I showed in the previous slide. Similarly, this receiver is also another UE or user equipment, and this network is the tower or the base station. Okay, so the question is, I have written caller. That means caller is the one who starts the phone call. Then the receiver is the one who receives the phone call. Now, this network stands in between because network acts as a master since it controls and manages this entire process of calling. So network is the manager and it also controls and manages the network. Okay, so we cannot directly call the another person. So it has to go through the network. So let me show this process. So when the caller initiates the voice call, let's say the caller says that, okay, I want to make a phone call to my friend. So the mobile device, let's say this UE, sends a call setup request. So we call that as initialization. That means it requests the network saying that, dear network, I want to call my friend. So can you help me in setting up this network for me? Okay. So the network sends a message about the call to the receiver. So what happens is then the network tells the receiving side saying that there is someone who is trying to connect with you. Would you be interested in connecting to them? We can imagine that this receiver, so we all know that in a mobile phone, this is the tower. It's very much possible that your friend is not connected to the same tower. Correct, right? You agree that, right? Let's say you are in Chennai, you are calling your friend in let's say in Bangalore. So obviously the receiver is not connected to the same tower. So you both are on different towers. So in that case, what happens is this network cannot directly talk to this receiver. So this network, this tower will talk to another tower in Bangalore. Then it connects to another tower which may be outside Bangalore. So there are multiple such towers. Finally, there is another tower which is in Chennai where this receiver is connected, and that tower will talk to this receiver and say that, hey, you have a request, someone wants to talk to you. Would you like connecting to them? Okay, that's how the call setup first starts. Okay, this is called paging. Now, let's say the receiver accepts the call. Let's say the receiver says that, okay, I'm ready to accept the call. Then what happens is the network allocates resources to both the caller and receiver. So what do you mean by resource? Resource means, imagine that it's like a pipe for the flow of water. Let's say you have a tap. You have a tap and you want the water from the tap to go only to a bucket, which is farther away. So what you do is you connect a pipe from the tap to that bucket. So that's what you can imagine. Network, what it does is it allocates a secured connection between the caller and the receiver. Okay, so this is called as allocating resources. Now what happens is, once the resources are allocated, there are two things that has to happen. There has to be security related aspect which comes into picture. So there are a lot of security related aspects, but at a high level, think of two things. One is authentication, other one is encryption. Okay, can you tell me what is the meaning of authentication? I'm sure you would have heard this word, English word. It's a simple English word. What do you think of authentication is?
Is the call going to the intended receiver?
Yes.
Approval.
Or the correct receiver?
Correct.
Approval.
Approval. Okay.
Process of verification of user.
Correct. Process of verification of user. Correct. Exactly. So authentication is basically, let's say you are a Airtel user. Okay. So when you try to make a call, first Airtel has to determine that, okay, you are the right user of this network. You are the right user of this network. You have the right SIM card, and this is your number. This is your IMEI number. So everything is identified, and it should also make sure that if you are a prepaid user, that you have sufficient balance, right? Money is very important for the service providers. So they'll see that, okay, you have sufficient balance, first of all, to make a call. If you don't have balance, you can't even make a call. So all these things are done by the network before it establishes or allocates these resources. Before allocating resources, it checks all these things. Okay, that is what is authentication, identifying the user first of all. And the second thing is encryption. So what is the meaning of encryption?
Encoding, decoding.
Okay.
Mutilating the
Tell me.
Mutilating the
Sorry, what is it?
mutilating.
Mutilating. Okay.
Security purpose.
Correct. Security purpose. So what do you mean by encryption? So encryption means you take the data and let's say you jumble it or you code it in such a way that a hacker cannot hack it. right? Let's say it's a private conversation, right, between you and your friend, or you and your partner, or you and your parents, right? It's a private conversation. You don't want anybody to hack into that system, so you have to encrypt it. You have to jumble it in such a way that anyone trying to access the network doesn't understand what it is, right? So that's why encryption is very important for a network, because this is all a wireless system, right? This is not a wired system. Wired system, that risk was very minimal because the information used to pass through a wire. But here it is wireless. Anybody can, take that information if it's not encrypted. Okay, so that is the security aspects. Let's say all these are done. Okay, then what it has to do is it has to do something called as voice compression. So I'm not listing all the steps. There are probably 100+ steps that happen. So I'm telling you some major steps here. So voice compression, why this is important is what happens is when we are talking, right? The amount of data it generates in terms of digital, right? For a voice, even for a simple voice, is too much. So if there are thousands of users in a network using the network and they're transmitting information, there is too much of data which the network cannot handle, because you cannot accommodate more users. So what it does is it does something called as voice compression. So this is similar to your music files that you have on computer. Have you heard of these MP3 files you have on a computer? You would have seen, right? MP3.
Yes, sir.
So MP3 is form of a compression again, right? So it takes a music file and it compresses. So you can see the file size, it will be so small compared to your regular raw audio file or a music file. And the important point is when you compress, the user should not feel any difference. So if you listen to an MP3 song, MP3 file, the song, right, you won't make out the difference that it has compressed. It is a compressed version of the original song. Okay, compressed in the sense it is taking much less memory. So look at an MP3 file and a regular recorded file. So you can do some recording on your laptop, and you can also compress it. You can see what is the file size it takes. It's very less, probably 1/5 or 1/10 of the original size. Okay, so that's very important. So even the network does the same thing, and the users will not know when the voice is compressed. Okay, so finally all this is done, the call happens, then one of them decides to terminate the call. So it could be the caller who says that I want to end the call, or it could be the receiver who says that I want to end the call. So when that happens, what you do is you simply start a call release procedure. Call release means when the end button is pressed, the network says that okay, the call is done, and what it does is it goes back and takes back the resources allocated. That means the water has flown. That means the information is done from tap to the bucket, and now you take back the pipe and give it to some other users. Okay, so this process is done. So that's how you end the call. Okay, is it clear?
Sir, what are the resources that will be allocated?
Resources, when we talk about resources, it can be channel, which is a spectrum that you give. So obviously all the network providers will have a spectrum that is allocated, and the time that is allocated for the call, and the power. Okay, how much power you can transmit, and what is the power you receive, what is the channel bandwidth or frequency that is allocated, and how much time slots can you allocate for each user. So these could be all the resources.
Then without resource, how initialization is made? At first. Hello.
Ah.
How the initialization is made without resource at the first?
Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying is, see, this does not represent the entire, all the steps. But what I wanted to say is, first, let's say, see, every network sends something called as a pilot signal. So you can always make a call. The first initialization can be done without any resource, because at that time you're only given a simple channel, right? Hello.
Will all the users use the same frequency for initialization?
No, they don't use for the same thing. Only whatever is free, that is allocated by the network. So basically, network will always be sending a pilot signal, which means it's a open to use, let's say, a spectrum, which all the phones within that tower area will be continuously scanning. They'll keep the connection. So we call it as registration. So if you turn on your phone, you'll see those bars, right? So that means it is always registered to the network. So if you're outside the network, you don't see the bars. That means now it is not even connected to the network. The network doesn't know that you exist in that area.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, so we saw a simple voice call process. If you're interested, right, you can always look up on internet. There are detailed voice call flows. There are a lot of videos that you can also see. So one important thing, right? So making all this voice calls and everything is a piece of hardware and software which is called a SIM card. So we have heard about SIM cards, right? So we know that it is required to make voice call and SMS. So what is the full form of a SIM card? What is the full form of SIM?
Subscriber index module.
Subscriber
Identity module.
identity. So see, the name itself indicates, right? Subscriber identity. So who are the subscribers? So we are the subscribers. So when we say subscriber, what have we subscribed to? So we have subscribed to the services of the network. That means I have subscribed to Airtel because I want Airtel to provide me mobile connectivity. Okay, so that is one thing. So we said that it is identify the user. What is the other purpose of the SIM card? What is the other purpose of SIM card? Can anyone guess what is the other purpose of SIM card?
To store the phone numbers.
Okay, to store the phone numbers, correct. What is the other important? See, what is your service provider interested in?
Money.
Money, exactly, right? Billing. So they need to identify. So your SIM card is also has that information saying that, you know, what is the billing, how much voice you are using, how much SMS you are using, and what is the data that you are using, right? Everything is also identified based on the SIM card. Okay. So then you also said that we are using it for storing the phone numbers, let's say contacts. And the other important thing is mobility. That means you are moving, right? This is a mobile phone. This is a smartphone. So you are moving around. So SIM card also helps to identify, right? You're talking to, let's say you're outside your network. You bought your SIM card in Chennai. You go to some other place, Pondicherry or some other place. Then it has to identify, the network there has to identify that you are a user from a different network, right? All these things are also part of the SIM card. So SIM card is not a small hardware that is there. It has lot of hardware components and software components. So if you see here, a SIM card has a CPU. That means it has a processor and it also has a lot of memory elements to store. So some are permanent memory elements like your contacts and all are stored permanently. And some information is not stored permanently. It is volatile. That means you don't have to store some information permanently. You can remove it. Let's say you are in a particular network area. It stores information in that network area or tower area temporarily. And then when you move to another tower, it overwrites that information because that is no longer required. But some things are permanent. For example, you have stored your contact, you always want it. That will be part of your SIM card. So SIM card, it looks small, but it is a very complex hardware and software system.
I have a query here. If we are having SIM card this much hardware components, how their operator are able to give free of cost?
Okay, so that pricing, right? I'm sure they make money from the services, right? The idea is that you use the SIM card for using their service.
Okay.
It's a perpetual money, right? They're getting it month after month, or if you're prepaid, you're getting every time you recharge, they're getting the money. And once you use a SIM card, I'm
Normally,
sure
how much it cost for one SIM card manufacturer? If any idea?
SIM card should not be any expensive. Even you can buy a SIM card. It's probably cost about $4 or $5. Should not be expensive.
Okay.
And I'm sure bigger companies get it for much lower, less than $1 also, because they buy it in bulk, right? They buy it in like lakhs of SIM cards or crores of SIM cards. Okay, so then we move. Okay, so let us continue. So we have seen some basic functionality of a phone, which is how to make a call and about the SIM card. So the next thing that we are going to focus is how it is like a computer. This is about the company. So DTRI, so we are based in Mysore in Karnataka. So we are an upskill company. So we have been training students in areas of embedded systems, IoT and 5G technologies. So when it comes to fresh engineers, we train and place them in core engineering companies because we want students to go in core engineering areas and not only in IT companies. So that is other thing. That is our focus. And we also offer certification programs and practical learning, not only to fresher engineers. We also do a lot of corporate training. So we have done for TCS, Bosch, ZF, Airtel, and many such companies, L&T, many such companies. We have done corporate training programs also on all these technologies. So you can visit our website. You can get more details about what we do, and I have given the contact number here also. You can contact our company through this number. You can send WhatsApp messages, and you can also visit YouTube channel. You can communicate. You can ask questions. Then you can also write email to us.